What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So Nick Cyborg had another quick outing last night. Not a whole lot to talk about with regards to the fight. Sinead Kavanaugh made the fatal mistake of standing and trading with Cris Cyborg, and unless your name is Amanda Nunes, you don't do that. It doesn't end well for you. So we're kind of in an interesting situation here with the heavier weight classes in women's MMA, in my opinion. I believe that the three best big women in MMA all are in different organizations. I believe Amanda Nunes is squarely the GOAT, and she's the 135, 145 queen. You got Cris Cyborg, who's dominating 145 in Bellator right now, and you've got Kayla Harrison, who has just been absolutely unstoppable at 155 in the PFL. Whether or not all three of these ladies get together, and at some point we've already seen Amanda and Cyborg get together, but what happens with Kayla Harrison, I think, is the big question right now. And she was in the crowd last night and at the Bellator fight when Cyborg won. So it makes me wonder, is she leaning more towards Bellator and squaring off with Cyborg, or coming to the UFC and potentially doing a fight with Amanda Nunes?
Yeah, and who knows, because we've never seen her make 145. You know,
Right.
I don't really know what weight class she did judo at, but I don't think it was under 150. I think she was always up there in that. So I think it'd be a pretty severe weight cut for her to make it all the way to 45. And, you know, her being in the crowd and Bellator kind of pointing the spotlight at her and asking Cris Cyborg about her is kind of like foreshadowing as to what we might see in the future. I don't really know if the UFC is all that interested in the Kayla Harrison business, right? And the PFL, they're kind of like the girlfriend or the boyfriend that's getting overlooked and just forgotten about.
Yeah.
Because something new is potentially coming around the corner. I feel kind of bad for the PFL, and if I was the PFL, I would stick it to Kayla Harrison and maybe not offer her a new contract, because it's weird. You know, they're giving her the best opponents they can possibly give her. It's not very competitive over there. She's not having to go dig very deep to win these fights. And that means she's not having to dig very deep to win $1 million every year. And I don't know why you would look that in the face and try to reject it.
Yeah.
I get that she's on a quest for greatness, but you know, the one thing everybody complains about in the sport of MMA is that nobody makes any money, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, man, only the top makes money. But Kayla Harrison has seemed to make, $3 million in 3 years?
Yeah.
Plus whatever she gets paid to do the fights like regularly and the salary and all that stuff. So the PFL's got a good thing going for Kayla Harrison. It's not her fault that there's a lack of depth, not in the PFL, but in women at 155 pounds. And I don't know. I think that if she plays with fire like this for too much, she might wind up with a contract that's not near as good as what she's currently getting. And she might wind up in harder fights that, you know, might not go her way.
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Because if you want to be in the Kayla Harrison business, you do kind of have to come with a decent amount of money. If it depends on what's motivating Kayla. Does she want to beat the best fighters in women's MMA history, which would be Amanda Nunes and Cris Cyborg, or does she want to collect $1 million paycheck and look stellar every time she goes out every year until she decides to retire? And that's really up for her to decide. But presumably she's going to want a mix of both. She's going to want the greatness, but she's going to want a promoter to come to the table with some decent money. So whether Scott Coker and Dana White will come to the table with anything remotely close to $1 million is yet to be seen. Also, much like the Valentina Shevchenko Amanda Nunes situation, there is a decent size difference between Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison. Yeah. Amanda Nunes, as you said, is a 135er. She makes 145 because it's more convenient for her and she can dominate there. Her power clearly translates. She has power unlike we've seen in women's MMA, but she can make 135. She's not one of the more extreme weight cuts. It's a tough weight cut, but she can get there. Kayla Harrison is a 155er. So you're talking about two weight classes of separation. You know, for reference, that's like Charles Oliveira going up against Israel Adesanya.
Yeah.
That's two weight classes different. So it is a meaningful difference. Cris Cyborg, I believe, although Amanda beat her, is a much bigger woman and would be similar in size to Harrison. And that coupled with the fact that it sounded to me at the press conference last night like Dana is kind of considering doing away with women's 145.
Yeah.
We saw Felicia Spencer in there again last night, but he said it's really going to depend on what the champ wants to do. And Amanda's reaching the end of her career. Does she want to bounce back between 2 weight classes, or does she just want to come out for a few more fun fights, perhaps against Valentina again, maybe something else fun, and call it a day? So I actually, if I was going to put some early predictions on it, I bet Kayla goes to Bellator, and I bet she fights Cris Cyborg.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of right. That's why I think she was there. We haven't seen her at UFC events. If she has been there, we haven't really seen her get highlighted, like, in the crowd, how they kind of pan to famous people and big stars in the sport.
She was Harrison in the crowd, and they overlooked her. I was like, oh, that's Kayla Harrison, but they didn't.
Oh, yeah, she was next to somebody. I can't remember who got
Yeah,
the
I can't
shine.
remember now.
It was somebody she trains with, I think. But either way, the issue with the pay is, in my opinion, she is running away with money that the PFL isn't making off of her.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that she is earning the PFL the money that she is bringing home. And that's where it becomes tricky as far as business plans for other promotions. Nobody else is doing the $1 million tournaments. Bellator does the Grand Prix, but we haven't seen anything about a 145 females Grand Prix for $1 million, right? If that was the case, then it would make sense to put Kayla Harrison in there. But for her to just come in and say that she wants to fight 3 times and make about $300,000 to $400,000 a fight, and to add up to $1 million, I don't really see that being something that's feasible for Bellator to do. And she's not going to bring any attention. She's not a big star. That's the bottom line. She doesn't pull big crowds. Kayla Harrison's not filling stadiums, filling arenas. And while she's very good, she's undefeated. The lack of difficult challenges is what's holding her back. So it's one of those like catch-22s, right? Like, should I go test myself and get harder fights for less money, but become a bigger star in the process? Or should I just, take these $1 million seasons and run with them as long as I can and not blame myself for lack of depth at 155 for females and just do what I have to do? I'm a 155er. I fight MMA. There's not that many girls that do it. I'm going to continue to do my thing because this is my time and just run with it like that. I tend to think that she's going to try to cut some weight, move over to Bellator, and then maybe, try to do like a trilogy with Cris Cyborg.
Yeah.
That might be the best option for her. But you made a good point when it comes to the weight class thing. Two weight classes is a big difference. And while Amanda Nunes fights 1 weight class lower than Kayla Harrison, she is a 135er. That would be the same thing as Rose Namajunas coming up to fight Amanda Nunes. And that's a big difference. There's a huge difference, and nobody would put money on Rose to win that fight. So while I still do believe Amanda Nunes is the GOAT, and she would finish Cris Cyborg again if she fought her, and she would finish Kayla Harrison, I do think that because there's so few girls that are at that caliber, do have a shiny record like 12-0 or whatever she has, it would be fun to see them in there. But I do think that Cris Cyborg will probably get the fights with Kayla Harrison.
Yeah, and it's not Kayla Harrison's fault that she's not a big star. We're not ragging on her here, but it's very difficult to become a star without the proper dance partners. And she does that. That's what PFL lacks right now. Cris Cyborg's a great dance partner. If Kayla Harrison goes in there and beats the hell out of Cris Cyborg, she becomes maybe not a household name, but becomes much more recognizable than she was before. And if she beats her again, then maybe you're getting to that status of, okay, people know who this girl is in a casual conversation if you mention the name Kayla Harrison. So I think that she will likely, for that reason, go to Bellator, because I think also Cyborg would be down to engage in like a trilogy type of thing, if presuming the first 2 fights went 1-1, but at least a 2-fight deal. I'm not sure Amanda has interest in fighting Kayla Harrison twice. I think she's going to probably fight Valentina again, maybe do a couple more fun things at 135, and then she's going to call it a career. Her and Nina Ansaroff, they already have a beautiful family. They're not going to be in this game as far as competing much longer, I don't believe. And even though Cyborg is a bit older, she still seems like she's down to fight. She's game. She's a tough girl. And my predictions on Kayla Harrison taking on Cris Cyborg in the Bellator cage.
Yeah, I see Kayla likely signing a short fight contract, like 2 or 3 fights with Bellator, and then testing the waters again as a free agent. But Cris Cyborg, she did her thing this weekend. And while we talk about Kayla Harrison not having a serious depth to deal with as far as talent goes, Cris Cyborg's kind of doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Sinead O'Connor was a great name. She's somebody that people know because of John Kavanaugh, her dad, who's Conor McGregor's coach, right? So there's some sort of familiarity there, but she's dealing with the same thing. So they need each other. It takes two to tango, and we can't keep throwing these, sacrificial lambs in there with Cris Cyborg and Kayla Harrison just for them to get the hell beat out of them. So
Yeah.
I think that it makes sense for them to go against each other. Cris Cyborg looked pretty good. It wasn't the most technical matchup we got to see. She went in there with a girl that is a better striker than a grappler, who went in there to try to bang with her. She caught Cyborg once early, but then she went to engage again about a minute into the fight and got cracked and knocked out cold. So you don't want to stand and trade with Cris Cyborg. She's shown she might be the most powerful striker in women's mixed martial arts.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment and let us know, who would you be more interested in seeing Kayla Harrison fight? Would it be Cyborg or would it be Amanda Nunes? And where do you expect she goes? Because the depth on both sides really isn't that much. So we'd love to hear your opinion as always. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and smash that like button on this video, we really appreciate it. And we will see you in the next one.
Peace.